amateur golfers, rotation is the main cause for why you're hitting bad shots. Amateur golfers attempt to create large amounts of rotation, but as a result, due to physical limitations and poor understanding of where to rotate and how to rotate, we create poor quality rotation. So in this video, we're going to discuss how we can create quality rotation through the upper body and how this is going to help your golf game. What we're going to talk about today is how the thoracic spine, or visually the upper body and trunk, rotates properly in both the backswing and downswing to create good width, control of the club head, and consistency through strike. So here I'm using the Gravity Fit band. This is a great training aid for understanding how we can rotate. Automatically, I can feel a connection between the hands, arms, shoulders, and into that rib cage. So when we kind of go into that address position, if I was to take turn and I was to lose my width, so I was to flex my arms, get very narrow, we can see that band loses stretch. Whereas obviously we want to try and feel like the band keeps stretch, which naturally creates more width. But in order to keep that width and get a longer turn, we have to automatically create a bigger rotation through that rib cage. And as a result of this, once we lose that connection here, when we create the downswing and transition, naturally the hands and arms are in a position where they're going to outrace. So something's going to happen called stalling the pivot, so a lack of rotation through the ball, and we see the hands and arms overtake, causing a disconnection through the ball. Whereas if we can create more of this width, naturally we can turn the upper body, the lead hip, and the hands and arms can follow, which creates more rotational freedom and not stalling the pivot. So one of the main reasons that amateur golfers struggle with this is they often lack the physical capabilities to rotate the rib cage, but at the same time to be able to tilt, so left side bend in the backswing and right side bend in the downswing for a right-handed golfer, to be able to maintain those angles without the arms losing their structure. A really good drill for this is we can take a big heavy gym ball and essentially wrap our arms around it like we're trying to hug the ball. So we're trying to compress and pull the ball into the body. If we then adopt a golf posture, what we're trying to do here is feel like we hug the ball as tight as we can. So that's engaging the core muscles, the back muscles. We're taking the arms out of the equation in theory. And if we just try and rotate the chest, you can see here how essentially that rib cage, that upper body, is having to create full rotation in the correct manner without essentially standing up, so losing that tilt, that side bend, and being forced to rotate the trail hip more naturally. We don't have to think about that, and turn in a full range of motion. And we can feel that stretch. If we do this properly, it might feel quite challenging. But once we get that feeling, and then we can feel the same ability to create that movement into the downswing. Next, we're going to take an exercise and a movement drill that can help you both create the right feel, but also maybe improve the physical capabilities of this movement. For those of you who watch this channel a lot, you know this exercise. So we're using the gravity band again. We're placing in a golf posture. We're just going to take our lead foot slightly back, okay? From here, keeping the two thumbs crossed over, so connected, and the palms feeling like they're facing the floor and pushing away, we're going to try and turn that rib cage into the lead hip. So you see, this is where we talk about quality rotation just versus a lot of rotation. So for me to create quality rotation, you see how I'm keeping connected between essentially the center of my hands and the center of my chest. So I'm turning that rib cage. Whereas amateurs will naturally want to do this exercise and just swing the arms further. So on paper, they're creating more rotation, but they're not creating better rotation. And it's that feeling of, if I just lift my arms up, can we see how naturally those arms come very flat, very inwards? So we lose that kind of width. And this exercise can give you, one, the feeling of what we want to do, but also help create some better physical capabilities to rotate into that trail hip, maintaining some width and some space. And now what I want you to do is essentially the exact same exercise, but this time you're going to bring your trail hip backwards, which is now going to open up that hip more organically. I'm going to try and create the same motion, but try and get a little bit more momentum, so something similar to the golf swing, with that feeling of turning that chest properly, so we get the rotation through the rib cage. We keep that kind of side tilt, that side bend, but we create some momentum to get a longer turn, a longer stretch. So if you can see here, my hands are still staying out, but I'm getting a fuller turn and I'm creating quality rotation. So when we do that with the golf club in hand as a feel, and this is where this gravity band is brilliant because it's always giving you feedback on what good width is. If I do that same setup and that checkpoint, if we will, where again, center of my hands are in line with the center of my chest or my zip. So if we start getting round here, we start losing stretch on the band. We know we're losing some connection and we're not creating that quality rotation. So that checkpoint there, that's the same drill. And now we can stretch it up a little bit. So with some momentum, you can see how we can create loads more width and more quality turn. So now if I just do that as a rehearsal in a full swing normal setup, we'd start off slow motion, the feeling of here, and we can stop here, and then the same feeling of trying to keep that connection and turn through. So you see in the follow through, I'm almost replicating that width. So the arms are extended and the hands are in line with the center of the chest, because in theory, I've simply just rotated that rib cage with quality. Now the final piece of the puzzle to bring all this together and start hitting some balls is, firstly, we're going to go into a really wide stance, okay? So this means you cannot really turn the lower body properly. And that will automatically force more rib cage rotation, the ability to, can you hit the golf ball? Otherwise, you're just going to probably bottom out really early. So still with the gravity band on, you see how wide I am here? If I just do a rehearsal, for me to turn, I'm going to have to really stretch that here and try and turn hard through the ball, because we can't easily push off the lower body. So we're just going to hit a few balls like that, the feeling, just more of a pitch shot type motion. And you can feel that connection of what you're trying to do with those areas. Now if we take that band away, so we haven't got that instant feedback, we're going to try and do that exact same drill, but that focusing on that quality of rotation, that quality of movement. And automatically, without that feedback of the gravity fit band, it's always a little bit harder because you're not forced and you're not feeling that same muscular engagement. But that's why the rehearsals in the drills and keeping that feel and swapping between the band and all the exercises will help your brain rewire that pattern and that motion more. And then from there, once you've hit a number of balls and you're starting to notice some improvement with that movement, that's where we're just going to bring it all into one normal motion. And starting out with pitching with this particular pattern becomes a little bit easier than obviously going with longer clubs where there's a naturally longer speed, more momentum, more force. But don't be afraid to also try it with a longer club. So stretch, stretch, keep the connection. And naturally, we know the lower body has to work together with the upper body, but at the same time, if we can get the upper body functioning more with that quality rotation that we're looking for, not large amounts of rotation, but the quality of movement, we can then control that club, the hands and arms better. So if you're a golfer who does struggle with that quality rotation of the upper body, go through this series of movement drills and feels, practice it both away from the course and on the driving range to create some awareness of what you're trying to do. Build it up over time with shorter to longer clubs, different tempos from slower to faster so you can keep that connection. Let me know how you get on in the comments below. And if you want to get access to the Gravity Fit Band, which in my opinion is one of the best tools on the market for something like what we've done today, you can get a discount with the code below in the description. Just follow the link and get started with these movements. And make sure to watch this video next so you can see how to use the Gravity Fit band to help your golf posture.